So I'll just give you a little bit of background on us, and you may already know this. We're home modification occupational therapists, predominantly around the United States, although we do have 30 members in Australia, and then we've got a few in Puerto Rico, a couple in England, and then a few other places throughout the world. But we're predominantly in the United States. And we've been around for a couple years, but we're starting to really try to organize and really get some membership benefits and, get a little more strength. And so one thing we're working on is an app. So when we do, just to make it so when we do the home modification evaluations, because we're starting to get contracts throughout the United States, that the evaluations are efficient, they're accurate, and they're consistent. But one thing all of us are finding to be a pain point is the drawing. So I was thinking, instead of, trying to build drawing into the app we're working on, which is basically you do the evaluation and it spits out a report based on what you put in, the drawing app would be something separate that maybe we could just import, maybe the drawing app would kick out a PDF or a JPEG, and we could just import that into our evaluations.
Sure, absolutely fine. No problem at all.
Perfect. So let me introduce you real quick. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Home Modification Occupational Therapy Alliance meeting for tonight, HMOTA. And we have a special guest today, Ben Burton. And Ben Burton is part of Idapt. And if any of you were at the presentation by Rachel Russell, Dr. Rachel Russell, when she did her presentation about home modification processes, she highly recommended the Idapt app for drawing. And so Ben is from Idapt, and he's kind enough today to tell us a little bit about his app. And he and I have been going back and forth. I kind of told him a little bit of what we're looking for, and it sounds like they're really can accommodate us. So what I'm hoping is we need to identify a drawing app for HMOTA, for our official HMOTA drawing app, something that's easy to use and that can work for design. And the beauty of the Idapt app is it's really based on accessibility. It's not like a lot of the other apps out there that are just basic drawing. It's got a lot of special features. So I'm really excited about this app, and I'm excited to bring to you Ben Burton. And Ben, I'm gonna, if you want to tell a little bit about yourself, and I'll change you to presenter.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for that, Karen. As Karen said, I think the key feature from our app, which I'll take you through very quickly in a few moments, is we do have a specialist range of products and items that can be included in plans which are directly related to accessibility. So I think the differentiating part is we really sort of understand the accessibility market, and the reason we understand the accessibility market is because we ourselves here in the UK actually carry out project management and design of accessible buildings, accessible residential environments. So I hope as we go through the presentation, you will get to see how our experience of this sector and this market is actually being put into the app itself, and probably has quite a few unique features when compared to traditional drawing applications. What I'll try first of all, just to make sure it's all working. Okay.
Ben, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I notice it says Ben Burton and /web, and we've done presentations before where the presenter only had the web app open and it shut them down, but it didn't let the presenter actually know that they were shut down. So they actually did the entire presentation without knowing they got shut down.
Okay.
So I don't know if this will work with you on the web. We can always switch it over to you, and if you don't hear it, and you can say, "Hey, is anybody there?" If nobody answers, you'll know that that you got shut down.
No, that's fine. So can I just check first of all, just in case we do get shut down, the meeting ID 86281 4493. Is that right?
Can anybody help him with that? I don't have, let me see if it'll tell me.
That was right.
Oh,
Yeah, no, perfect. That's fine. Because what I'll do is, if I do, I'll switch over to the other one. So, shall I try sharing my screen and we'll
okay.
see how we get on.
Okay, here it comes. I'm switching to you. Oh, it looks like it worked.
Hopefully, you should see a wet room in front of you.
Yep, we see it. It worked. Perfect.
Perfect, great. Well, if I disappear, just shout. So yeah, so just to give you a very brief background of Idapt Planner and where it's come from, we've actually been around since late 2008. Originally, it was a Flash-based program, and it was a 2D only program. So at the time, we as a design company, we were working with lots of different occupational therapists. At that point, we would go to do a client consultation with fellow OTs, and we would take with us a laptop computer, and we would take with us AutoCAD or other design tools. And what we found was the OTs were saying, well, actually, can't we have something similar to this, but slightly easier to use? So, because at the time, I think a lot of the OTs perhaps had graph paper, cutouts of particular pieces of appliances and equipment, and trying to see if things would work, turning circles, activity areas, etc. They were struggling to assess that and to demonstrate it. So we went away, we created the original version of Idapt Planner, and that's been used throughout the UK and actually in Australia, some licenses in the US, and that's been going quite successfully. About 2.5, 3 years ago, we started actually on an upgrade to that, which is the version which I'll be showing to you today, and that's Idapt Planner 3D. So the same easy to use interface, same easy to use way of drawing and adding icons, but with the additional benefit now of being able to press a button, go into 3D, and actually see all the items in 3D as we draw, and hopefully you can see on the screen at the moment. So what I was going to quickly do today was just to, first of all, very quickly show you how I created this drawing in the first place, some of the features and how easy it is to use, and then perhaps just to elaborate on some of the areas whereby perhaps we go beyond a traditional drawing program in terms of the actual creation of floor plans. So what I'm going to do first of all is just move this part of the drawing just to one side, and I'll just start creating an additional room alongside so we can see how that's done. To do that, I'm going to go back into what we call our build mode. This is the mode essentially we use for the drawing of the plan, and allows us to manipulate its layout and how it looks. First thing to mention is we do have measurements in both metric and in feet and inches. I know in Australia, a bit like the UK, it's predominantly metric system which is being used, and I think the US, despite I think it was Ronald Reagan setting a presidential decree to go to metric, I think you guys are still like to use the feet and inches. So, but just rest assured, we can accommodate that as well. So, several ways in which we can create rooms. The first and easiest way is just to quickly click room template. Into this box, then we can actually type in a particular feet and width of a room, click apply, and we can drag out that room of a particular size. The other way, which is the way which I'll just demonstrate now, is by using this pen tool, and this allows me effectively just to draw out the room. So I'm just going to draw some basic shape here, click it around, and as you'll notice, as you get in line with a connecting pillar, you can create another pillar there and return to the first one. You can add extra rooms to this room like so. And these rooms don't have to be completely square. They can be any shape that you need them to be, so that they match your existing environment and whatever you've measured on site. So as you can see, very quick, very easy to create the rooms. We can change the size of these rooms if we wanted to, if we made an error. So within a couple of minutes, you can get either a 1 room, 2 rooms, or a whole floor plan put together, depending on your requirements. In 2D mode, I also have the ability, in build mode, I also have the ability to move around these walls. So if I've made a mistake, I can level them up, straighten them up, and get them exactly to the shape I need. Once I'm happy with my room, all I do is flick over to 2D, and as you'll see, these new rooms have now been created, and we've got about 5 different rooms in here. For the purpose of today, I'm just going to imagine that this room 3, which has now been created, is actually going to be our bathroom, and I'm going to start work on planning that to see how it's going to work for my client and to make sure it's going to be accessible. The first thing which I will do is to change the flooring in this bathroom environment into perhaps some sort of vinyl flooring of a safety flooring of types to make it non-slip. And to do that, all I'm going to do is go to the left-hand side here, go to the decorate mode. I can decorate either the walls, the floors, or the walls. So on this particular one, I want to do the flooring. I'm going to go to a vinyl safety flooring. So on this particular part here, you've got broken down all the various different types of floors that can be added. And what will happen then, and this is probably where it's quite unique in terms of our application, is the top one for each of the categories that you choose will be generic. So the generic one is just some various different colors and shades of a safety flooring. The real magic comes below, and below what you'll find are the manufacturers, suppliers, or brands that we actually have available within our system. And what these have been done is our team here have created, when we talk about flooring, the color to match the exact flooring that manufacturer supplies. So hopefully it gives the client, gives you a better idea about how it's going to look, how it's going to work, and how it's going to come out once you've done your design. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to use this polyfloor flooring. And as I click down that, it then gives me the various ranges that are from polyfloor. So polyfloor have what they call a polysafe hydro evolve. And within that range, they have 8 different color swatches, which we've replicated here. As you highlight them, you'll see it says Black Volta, Danube, Colorado. So the various different colors are there. So I'm, for this one, going to choose this one called Tigris. I left mouse click, I drag it out, and I just drop it into the bathroom. So it's as simple as that. If you made a mistake, you can change your color to a different one just by adding a different swatch. But I'm going to go for this Tigris, and color it a nice grey color. What I'm going to do next is start building up this design now with some other features which we've got. So the first one which I'm going to go to now is this product section. So the product section is probably where about 99% of our models are stored. And what we've generally done is we have broken it down to the rooms which you expect to find them in a particular house, and then further categorize them within that room. So as an example, we'll go to the bathroom, and under the bathroom we have all the various different bits and pieces you'll expect to find in the bathroom. So whether it be tubs, shower curtains, shower cubicles, shower seats, shower chairs, toilets, faucets, wash basins, everything else under there. The one thing to mention, I've already touched upon the fact that we have the actual manufacturer's products. What we do is we work closely with our partners, whether it's clients or whether it's suppliers, and this menu which you get on the left-hand side can actually be bespoke, can actually be cut down to a range of suppliers you want. The beauty of that means that if we talk about the US market, we can choose actual suppliers from the US market, and that's the only ones which you will see in your section. Or for Australians, whether it's Caroma, Conserve, Bentec, Fowler in the Australian market, again, we can narrow it down to those products. And I know a lot of the accessibility products are very similar. It's often a case of just they'll be trading under a separate name. So to give you an example, in the UK here, we have a firm called Impy, and I'm pretty sure the US distributor is Trending Accessibility. And again, we have products under AKW, and I'm pretty sure that the American distributor is ARC. So there is a lot of crossover in terms of the product ranges, but that's something which we can accommodate in the system. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into baths or tubs, as you guys will call them. I'm going to go into a particular manufacturer, so Gainsborough, and again, I think Gainsborough operates in the US, and they have an Ezion tub. So as I click into that, what I'm presented with is the two versions. The first version is a 1500 mil version lengthwise, and the second one is 1700 mil lengthwise. So to add that to my drawing, I simply left click, drag it out, and drop it in the design. I can then place it wherever I want to place that particular bath, and I can drop it on there. The beauty of the system is that when we have modeled these particular pieces of equipment, they have been modeled and they are the correct size, shape for that particular supplier. So with relative confidence, you can actually draw your design knowing that if it fits on your design in Idapt Planner, it will also fit in real life, because everything which you're seeing on screen is relative in terms of its size. So I'm just going to go back now and just continue to build up this this environment, and I'm going to go down now to the toilets. Again, a whole range of different toilets. So I'm going to go for a specialist wash dry toilet, the Gerbert, and I'm going to go for one of their new range, which is part of the Mira range, and I'll go for this particular guy here. So at the moment, as you can see, it's been dropped into the plan, but I actually need to spin this one around because I want to put it onto a different wall. Simple as that. We just spin it around and we drop it into here. Something we get asked a lot, particularly by OTs, is there's obviously a need on occasions to show a particular position of a product and where it's sat. And we're able to do that. So thinking about the toilet, it might be the wall center line of the toilet that is important from the side wall. So to do that, I can use one of our measuring tools, which are represented by these arrows. And by adding that, I can actually bring up, and I'll just zoom in a bit here, bring up this measuring tool. So if I was wanting to place this toilet, I don't know, I don't work in feet that often, but let's just say 2 feet away from the side wall to the center line, I can type in 2 feet, I can place this measuring line, and then next to that measuring line, I can place the toilet itself. And that measuring line will stay on screen so that if you're working with a contractor, if you're working with other professionals, they understand that there's a requirement for that particular toilet to be placed in that location. I'll then go back to my products, and I'm going to go this time to something like, let's have a look, grab bars. because I'm going to imagine there's a grab bar which is needed down the side of the toilet. So we will use a fold down one. We'll use a press select fold down item, and I'll choose this guy here. Again, just drag it into the environment, and I'm just going to place this fold down one next to that toilet, and there we are. So go back to products, bathroom, and you can probably get an idea now. It's simply just a matter of going into the various different items, choosing them from the categories, and then positioning them in where you need them in your actual drawing. So this is a rise and fall lifting device for a wash basin, again made by Press Select. Place that in location. I'll come down here. Onto that, I will add my wash basin. So I'll go for a matrix small. The key point for this particular one is it actually has an inbuilt grab bars at the front, which allows support for the user when actually using a particular wash basin. I'll place that on that lifting device like so. So with this, we can just keep building up, and adding products. One of the key things I think for when we just talk about OTs in terms of what you're trying to do is the key aspect in looking at the space which is available. We have some tools which are quite unique for doing that. The first is we go to this category here, which is what we call people and space. And what we can do is we can actually start adding some turning circles. So it might be for this particular client, you're looking at the size of the turning circle, which you can get into this particular environment. So excuse me, they are in metric at the moment, so I'll be talking 1500, 1800, and 2.1. But I'll quickly do the math in a minute and work out the feet and inches equivalent. But to show you this, we can add in a 1500 circle. We can then add in an 1800, and we can change its color so you can see the difference in size. And then I'm going to add another one in here, a slightly larger one, and again change its color. So very quickly now we've got 3 different turning circles, and you can start to see how that will impact on the area depending on how quickly the wheelchair can turn. So to demonstrate the wheelchair turning circles, we'll go to our wheelchairs, and I'll just add this guy here. And place that in the middle of the turning circle. We also felt it was important to include actual humans in this area, because it might be that you've got carers helping with the client, or the client themselves. So we have a variety of different humans which can be added. So I'm going to add this lady here and put that lady into the environment there as well. So that's obviously a basic turning circle. We also have other tools, things like activity areas. So sometimes you may require a certain distance in front of the wash basin to be kept clear, or it might be a certain activity area around the toilet that you want to demonstrate. All these can be facilitated with an Idapt planner. I'm now just going to develop this slightly more. I'm going to go to my hoists, and I'm going to go to my ceiling hoists. And I'm just going to put some track in at the moment. So I imagine we've got a ceiling track environment operating in this room. Click and drag it out. Place that one like so. So I hope you guys are getting a sense of how quick and easy it is just to create these plans. It's really simple, just a case of finding the products that you want to add. You literally left click, you're dragging them out, you're dropping them in the space, and then you're making sure that they're in the correct position. So I'll place this across here as if we've got some sort of H-frame hoisting situation. And onto that, I will put the actual hoist motor. So I know in the US, I think got people like Prism Medical. I think you also got the R.J. Huntley Gatinga Group. I'm not sure if Handicare operate there. It might be under a System Remedic brand, which I think you guys might have. And we'll place that in there. So what I'm just going to do very quickly is flick into 3D mode, just so you can see how the bathroom is starting to look. We can navigate around this environment completely. So we can actually zoom right in. We can see that hoist is slightly high on that particular track, and we can just bring that down a fraction so it sits at the right place. And this hoist is probably a good example. You can see the guys, when they actually model equipment, really try and make them look realistic and exactly how they do in real life. And you can see that with the branding on here, the small details which are actually on the models themselves. Again, we've got the wash basin over here, which is slightly wrong position, but we can just move that in 3D mode to make sure it's in the correct location. There's our toilet with the grab bar and our special accessible tub. So the walls themselves can also be decorated. So again, you can really start to get a feeling for how this space will look once it's completed. So within our, so I think hopefully that gives a feel for how quickly we can create the environment. We can create the bathrooms, we can create bedrooms, the living areas, the external areas we can look at. So one of the key points we often find is looking at the transfers from car to the home environment, and we can quickly do that actually as well, which is really quite nice. And you can see whether there's going to be any issues outside. So we can do the whole residential environment from here in exactly the same way. The thing to touch on, obviously, with the models that we have is they're very easy and very quick to create for our team. So the thing which really sets this program apart is we can work with you guys to understand exactly what you have in your local market, whether it's a certain range, whether it's a certain range of products that you want to have in, or whether it's sort of a whole group or certain manufacturers. And our team can go away. If the manufacturer's got the 3D models, they will create these 3D items that you can see in here to look right and to be the right shape and right size. If they haven't already got 3D models, we can actually go and get them created by our team themselves. And all we need to do that is the dimensions for the product and some photographs, and we can create them from first principles. So really this side menu becomes a really bespoke and tailored for your exact requirements. I know there's obviously other flooring programs, sorry, other drawing programs, but they often charge incredible fees actually just to create 3D models in the first place. So you don't have the level of flexibility that we have in this system. So I'll just go back into 2D mode and just to talk through some of the other features which I know OTs often like. We touched on the measurement tool, which can be used in two ways. It can either be used to specify a distance, but because the distances are all to scale, we can also use that measuring tool to measure a distance. So if you wanted to know what distance you had left from the front of this wheelchair to the bath, you could actually measure and find that out. Something else which I quite like is the ability to add notes to the drawing. So we can add, hello, this is a note. I have the choice of either leaving that on screen. If I leave it on screen, you can see it's shown here, and I can place that wherever I need it need that note to be. But I also have the option of off-screen notes. And what this does is, rather than clogging the screen up with a note like that, we can actually put an off-screen number. So if I wanted to put something in a report that talked about number 2 product here, which is the wash basin, I can put number 2, and then when I print a continuation sheet, as we call it, out with my PDF, the actual note which I wrote would actually be printed out on that continuation sheet. The alternative is, if you're actually writing, say, a report in something like Microsoft Word or in Google Docs, you can do the number 2 there, or number 3, or number 4, whatever number it is, and you can put your explanation in your actual document. So you get a document and you get the plan marked up side by side, which is really quite a neat way of creating things. So at the moment, obviously, those are some of the sort of key things which I know OTs quite like about this system when making recommendations. I think we touched on with Karen about the type of output that you're looking to create, and I think one of the things we discussed was the ability to create a PDF that could be shared with either fellow professionals or with your client, or simply just to add to your file. So that's easy to do. All we do is we go to print at the bottom here. As you can see, we can choose the various paper sizes. So I'll go for a big paper size here. We can choose whether the print is going to be landscape or portrait. But the other unique thing we have is we have the ability to print to scale. So as I drop down this option, as you can see, we have the various scales that are available. So fit to page, and what fit to page will do is will give you a big area, and you can choose what you're going to print. The other options are the more defined scales that you're probably familiar with. So 1/2 foot equals 1 inch, 1/4 foot, an 1/8 of a foot, and a 1/16. And you can choose those, and what those will do is they'll actually print the plan to that set print scale. So if you're wanting to use either a scale ruler, a later date on that, then you can do that. But I'll just leave it a fit to page at the moment.
Does it also, when it prints, I'm sorry, when it prints, does it also have an option of printing like the graph paper or the grid for the scale?
The grid which we saw behind it,
right?
I don't think it does, but that's certainly something which we can turn back on. So I think what we do with the grid was really left in there in the build mode just for assisting with the design stage, and it was actually very much a sort of legacy of when we used to work with OTs with the old graph paper and the pen. So that's the reason why the graph paper was there. But if you felt that was helpful, then that's certainly something we can look to put back in. So I think what you're talking about is having a corresponding graph grid that would match the scale, correct?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know if it's necessary. Yeah. I was just wondering. No,
sure. So no, if that's necessary, then that's certainly something we can add, and that's not a problem at all. So what you will also see is we do have 3 options here below. The first is a tick box, which will allow to print a product list. If I leave that ticked, what will happen is every supplier's equipment that has been used in the design, it will get an automatic number, and it will then print out a corresponding list of brands that you've chosen along with their product codes. So it'd be the supplier's name, the product code, and the product name. The other 2 boxes are whether we want to print the on-screen and the off-screen notes. So when we talked about the notes before, whether we want to print those or not. So I'm just going to leave those on, and I'll click print. So because I'm now in fit to page mode, Everything's still being printed to scale, but it might be a slightly funny scale because all it's trying to do is get as much on the page as possible, and give you the flexibility. The beauty of fit to page is that I can have control over what I'm actually printing. So it's a bit like a print selection. So if I'm wanting to try and do the whole plan, I can try and get the whole design within this box by zooming in, zooming out to a particular area. However, if I only want to focus on a certain part of this design, then I can just zoom in here and I can just try and get perhaps the bathroom into this area. So whatever's filled up in this gray overlay, that's what will be printed. So you have full flexibility about which section of the plan you want to export. So I'm going to do this. I'll do select and print. And what you'll find comes up now is what we call our print box. So another key thing is we can actually, at the top of the PDF, we can actually have your own bespoke logos and names. So for clients, they can say to us, give us a logo into your profile, we'll upload that. And then whenever you create a PDF in the system, it will come out with your branding on, or your group's branding, whatever you decide to use. In addition to that, you also have the flexibility of putting a plan title, your client name, the site address, the designer, the plan number, how many pages. And we've also got these are more for sort of commercial environments whereby perhaps the document's being checked by several people. So it's perhaps being checked by a manager, perhaps it's been approved by someone, and you can put down the name of that person. And you can also put the revision. So if you've gone through a few different options for the plan, then you can put that there so you can keep track of whether this is option 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You don't have to fill these boxes out, and if you leave them blank, then they will stay blank. The other thing to mention is if you've filled out these boxes once for a design, when you save the design, it will save this information as well, so you're not having to continually write it out each time. So I'll just click submit here, and sometimes this doesn't work as well as I hoped because it's on GoToMeeting, but it should do. Are you all still with me in terms of have you now got the PDF on your screen? Does that come up nicely?
Yes.
Excellent. So what you'll see on your screen now is obviously the selection of the plan that we've chosen. You'll see in the top left-hand corner, I've got Idapt Planner 3D, but this is the section whereby you will have your logo, all the title information is printed out there, and you've got your design in here. It's reported the approximate scale of that in the top box as well. But as I just go back through these tabs, I did a few options earlier just to show you the difference. So on this particular one here, I've obviously showed a section of the plan that is close up like that one I've just done. This one I've actually done to a defined scale, so that's 1/8 of a foot to an inch, and a second one with all 3 rooms on that particular design. So as you can see, you can print out your design in 2D, and you get a nice clear layout that you can present to your client, or you can put on file. But as I go through, and as I mentioned at the time when we were selecting the print, we also have this product list. So it's giving you the product list here of all the various products that have been used. And those are all detailed for that particular design, so you know what's been done. So I can go back into the system now. That's sharing by using a PDF. So that's ideal for someone who doesn't use Idapt Planner. However, there may be times when either you as a group are looking to work together, or you may be working with another professional who also has access to our system, and you're able to share a design with them in an editable form. So the beauty of that is if you're working collaboratively, you can share a copy of this particular plan. They will get a copy into their sharing center. They can import it into their version of Idapt Planner, and effectively they just get a complete copy. So they can start working on that as well, save it, and they're not having to draw it from first principles again. Another way in which we can share the output is by the images themselves. So if we go into 3D mode into here, we can position our camera in whichever position we want to have a picture of, and then we have this snapshot tool. What that will do is it will take a snapshot, a JPEG of whichever part of the plan that you have focused on, and it will save that, and that will then be available to download in the front end of our system. And that particular image is often very useful if perhaps you're writing a report, if you want to perhaps save some images maybe to your iPad or to a tablet device to take with you to show a client, if you want to add them to a report. So perhaps you're talking about the positioning of, say, the grab bars around the toilet, you may want to add a snapshot of that to more accurately relay what you're trying to communicate to the contractor or to your other professional. So really the three main ways we have of sharing, obviously PDF, images which can be used in reports and with iPads and things like that, and finally the actual internal Idapt plan our own format, so you can actually share an editable version of the plan. Somewhere else where the editable version of the plan comes in useful is when we started. I started from scratch, so I drew this from first principles in using my drawing tools. However, you can actually create your own templates. So if you tend to do a lot of drawings that are similar, maybe similar style properties, similar style bathroom environments, you can actually create your own templates. And what that means is that rather than starting from scratch, you start from a predefined room shape, size, has some products in, particular layout, which can be very quick and very easy way of starting. And with the sharing function, if you as a group perhaps want to come up with some standards or some guidance or other drawings that you want to do, again, you can share them between yourselves, and you can each have a copy of that design in your actual license. The other way in which we can actually create designs and can help us is if a particular client has a plan, or I think you guys call a blueprint, already created, then we can actually upload that into the system. We can set the scale of that plan, as long as it's been drawn to a scale, and we can then use that almost like a bit of tracing paper to actually get the design in very quickly. So it just makes it very easy and very quick to get the layout and shape of rooms, because you simply just draw around it.
So that would be, like you said, a JPEG or a PDF that you would import, and then it would act as a template?
Exactly. So do you want me to quickly show you that? So yeah. I'll just duck out of here. It's probably a good moment to just duck out. So I've just exited from the canvas area, and just whilst we're here, what I'll show you is the other aspect, which is probably quite unique to us. I know obviously a lot of drawing programs, they don't necessarily store data in the cloud, and they don't necessarily have a client system, but we do. So I'm just going to go in my design manager, and what you'll find here is we have the ability to create clients on the left hand side, and then we can store the designs for those clients under their record. So it just makes it nice and easy to work out which particular client you've been working on, and to make sure you get back to the right designs, rather than having to wade through a whole dashboard of various designs with different names for that. So I'm going to do a new design just here in my designs. Backing, scan, upload, test. What you'll see is obviously design title. This is where we can say whether we're designing as a template or not. You can add tags, a bit like you can in Facebook or any other social media, to make finding the particular layout easier. So it might be that you've gone through several versions of the design, you've finally settled on a version, and you just want to tag that as your your approved design, so that you know later when you come back that you can actually find it. So the only one I have to complete is this design title, which I'll do here. Click confirm, and that will create me a new design in my record. This is where I say you have the choice of how you start your design. So a blank canvas is how I started. We can load a template. So if you have a template saved, then you can load a copy of that. But the one which I'll show you now, because I think that was one Karen wanted to have a look at, was the upload a plan or upload a blueprint area. So exactly as Karen suggested, what we would do is we go to this screen here, we click to choose a file. I think hopefully I've got one on my desktop. Let me just quickly flick to my desktop and just to make sure I have got one there. Just bear with me. I think we might have one there, hopefully. Good. Let me just try this one. So exactly as I said, it has to be a JPEG or a PNG file. So if you've got, say, a PDF of a plan, you can just take a snapshot of the particular area you want. The key thing is that the plan has been drawn to scale initially, and that you know at least one dimension on that particular plan. This is not actually a plan which I thought it was, but I think this should hopefully give you the idea. So I'll just upload this, click confirm. And as you can see, that particular design now, which is actually a screenshot of the planner, has been brought into the system. So I will just go in and I will just quickly rotate this around so it's the right way. So it's probably not a great example to show you. I thought I had a better one than that, but it will do just to give you the concept. So if I imagine on here that this particular dimension, which I'm from here, if I knew a dimension from here to here was a particular size on my plan, I would draw a line and I would say on my plan, that particular measurement will say 70 inches. Click OK. And as you can see now, that design has been scaled. So what will happen now is as I start drawing over that 70, what was that mark 70 inches will correspond with my walls. I should have tried to get a better plan to show you that, but it essentially gives you the concept. You literally can then just use it as tracing paper to draw around and to recreate it. Do you get the idea of that? I appreciate that. I thought that was a different design than it actually was, and it's probably not a great one to show you. But does that sort of show you, Karen, how it works or not?
Yeah, so the other thing I wonder is, so if you have a picture, say, of the front of a house, and you know the doorway is 36 inches wide, could you put that into this Idapt planner, upload it like you just did, and then put in, 36 inches at the door, and then it could tell you the measurements of everything else if that's what you wanted to.
Interesting. That's a new one on me. But yes. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I think the key thing would be to ensure that, is it the 50mm lens, which is the accurate to scale, I think, lens, so there's no distortion. But absolutely, yeah, no, a picture could be used, a photo could be used in exactly the same way. Yeah, no, yeah, I was just thinking that through. So yeah, you take the photo, 50mm lens, upload that in the same way, and yeah, you could use the measuring tools to measure door widths, to windows, positions, things like that. Absolutely.
Oh, that would be really handy for designing ramps, because sometimes you get a picture of the front of the house, but you don't know what a measurement is, and it'd be nice to be able to just say, "Oh, that's the measurement."
No, sure, because we also had a ramp tool, which I just need to check with my guys here whether it's been updated for the new version of iOS and things, which would actually allow you to calculate the run and the height for that particular for ramps, so that to ensure it's 1 in 12, 1 in 15, 1 in 20.
No.
So yeah, so absolutely, you could use it for that purpose as well.
So Ben, Nicole asks, you can't use your phone for the picture, but you could use your phone for the picture, couldn't you, if you knew the dimension? Would it really matter if about the lens?
I don't think it'd make a huge difference. The only reason I say about 50mm lens is because that's the true to life. But I think now, I think the level of distortion you get will be so minimal that it would actually be fine to use your phone for that purpose. As you said, as long as you knew the width of the doorway or some other dimension on that plan, it would be absolutely fine. The interesting way in which we also use the plan upload facility is for external transfers, by using an actual what we call an OS map extract. I'm not sure what you guys call them there, or something like Google Earth. Because again, if you know the size of the yard, say at the front, or you know one aspect of it, you can actually upload a snapshot of that, and it provides you with a really nice boundaries for the property. And again, if you're looking to see if you can get a ramp in the front yard or backyard or wherever you need it to be, knowing the actual size of the yard from that map or that plan can be really useful, and particularly in relation to the house itself. I know in the US you've probably got a lot more land than we have here in the UK, so it's probably less relevant, but a lot of the time it's really quite nice just to be able to see. So if I just give you an example, if I said, okay, this was my house here, and perhaps I'd uploaded a plan of a map of the house, and I knew where the boundaries of my property were in reference to this. So I'll use my free wall draw to do this, just like so. So this is my boundaries here of the yard, say, a bit of a funny shape. What it allows me to do is when I go into this mode here, rather than this being rooms, what we can imagine is we can do the external environment. We can put some external things down here. So this is the front of my house. This is the external area. We can add in some vehicles. So let's go for a car. A nice big vehicle here. So you can start to see the transfers actually from the external vehicle. And like you said, if you had some ramping here, you would be able to see what orientation that ramping needs to be in, whether you need some sort of platform lift or similar, and you can really start to get a better idea about the external environment as well. Or it might be that you have some sort of porch or other weather protection for when getting out of vehicles, that you want to see how that would look in your space. To make it look even more realistic, we can actually remove these walls if you wanted to, so you don't actually have walls on this portion. And I think somewhere out here we've got some trees and bushes and other bits and pieces. So we don't get these in the UK very much, but I'm sure in Florida or somewhere else, which is slightly warmer, you may have some palm trees. So if I just move down here now. Oh, the car's a bit low. Let's just bring it up. So as you can see, you can start to get the external environment. So we can also on the external, we can put some bricks maybe, or whatever cladding that you want to add. And hopefully you can see then how it can actually work for external environments as well as just the internal. Were there? I know obviously we had a bit backwards and forwards, Karen, in terms of questions. Are there any ones which I haven't covered, or if people have got which they perhaps want to see?
I have a question. I was wondering if you mentioned that you can take products out that we don't use commonly here in the US. Is it possible to upload other products that we do use commonly in the US?
Absolutely. So I think when I looked at, so Karen kindly provided me the website which they're sort of with some of the products on. So I think some of the brands which you mentioned was sort of the Moen, the Cola. Just trying to think from my brains now which you have there. But absolutely. So all we essentially do is we can create for you. So it can either be if you say to us, can we have cola? We would go and put the cola products in, whether it's the grab bars, whether it's the special shower seats and what have you, the special showering equipment. Or the alternative is that you guys as a group, if you've got particular buying arrangements with particular organizations, then we can actually create you your own bespoke thing for you as a group about what products you want to see and what ranges you would like to have available. And this is where potentially it can be linked up with any sort of buying or purchasing agreements to say track commissions or things like that. That's where it can be sort of really made bespoke to your actual requirements. It's worth touching on some things which I think might be of interest in terms of where we're going with this platform and this tool, and some of the things we have in the pipeline, because I think those are sort of quite exciting, but also show how we very much are sort of in this accessibility market, and then we think it's got really powerful uses. So at the moment, obviously, you can see that we have the static products. Very shortly, we will also have products which can move. So if we're talking about a changing table in 3D mode, you'll actually be able to press an activate button to see that changing table maybe drop down from the wall and go back up again. Or if it's a ceiling track hoist, you can actually see the ceiling hoist move on its axis and on its tracking to a different position, which we think will be quite useful for clients and obviously professionals alike to see the movements. There's also something recently been released for this that would allow us to actually create humans which move. So again, something we're looking at is to have particular humans which can move in the environment, so that perhaps we can replicate, say, a wheelchair user or other person in the environment to see how they might move around in the space and to bring it to life a little bit more. We are looking at things like VR and AR because the application is created in something called Unity 3D, which essentially is a gaming platform. We can actually very quickly create augmented reality and virtual reality projects. So as an example, at the moment, obviously, we can go into a walkabout mode, which will actually take us into the room itself. And obviously this room's empty, but allows us to look around the room and to walk around the room as if we were actually in that particular environment. The idea with that mode is that would lend itself very quickly and very easily to a virtual reality situation on a headset or on a tablet device, so that the user can actually go around the room themselves. So augmented reality, we're talking about things like taking particular manufacturers' products and giving the client the ability to place that in their room to see how it might look and how it might feel. It's becoming very trendy into the furniture industry to be able to put, say, a sofa in a room to how it would look. But in reality, it actually has probably more benefit in this industry, whereby perhaps you're putting a more specialist piece of equipment, which the client perhaps wants to get a better idea how it's going to look in their home. And finally, really, the other thing which well, actually, there's two more things. The at the moment, we're really pleased, obviously, with the output of the system in terms of the visualizations, but we can actually, at the moment, we're doing a few testings. We can actually do a photorealistic view from here as well. I'm just trying to think if I have one somewhere on this particular computer to show you, but I think it might be on my other device. So what I might do is if I get that up later, I'll just send it on to Karen and perhaps she can circulate it. So that's not something which we can do right now, the photorealism, but we have tested the proof of concept, and we can actually create what does look very, very realistic in terms of the home, which can be really useful for things like proposals for clients and other people. And the final way in which we can sort of add value to things like online stores is that there's the option of being able to create interactive floor plans or setups. So that might look like you might create perhaps some examples of accessible bathrooms which you can put on your website and people can look at, and then perhaps you have links to the products for the person to actually buy those products themselves, which you guys get a commission or for selling through that product. There might be things like doing the HD rendering, so you can actually have setups, so you can get lots of different ideas about how that product could be used in different environments. And we're also working on like product configurators. So again, if there is a product which has several options available, so whether it's color, size and things, you can actually play around with it, get it looking exactly how you want, and then potentially link that to a purchase, so you can actually go and buy that particular product which you want. So there's quite a few things in the pipeline which we're working towards, but some really quite exciting things as well. Are there any other questions which people had, or if Karen wants to funnel them through, whichever way is easier?
I have another question. I'm wondering what options you have for drawing other things that aren't related to accessibility, like doors, windows, lights, things like that.
Sorry, yeah, no. Good question. I think I was just so focused on the products I didn't do the basics. So no, absolutely. So on this other tab here, we have what we call structural items, and these are exactly what you're talking about. These are what we call the hard infrastructure of the house. So the doors, the windows, the lighting, the plumbing, the HVAC systems. So as an example, goes doors internal. I'm currently on the UK version, so again, apologies, it's all in metric, but we break down the doors into standard door sizes, a whole variety of different doors and styles, and we just literally just drop that on, and you drop on the doors there. You can change the way in which the door's hanging, flip it around. So it's exactly the same principle for the products, but for the structural items. So again, whole series of different style windows. And what we say to our clients is, if there's things which you want which we don't have, then we're happy to put them in. Essentially, we can take any 3D model and convert it into a format which we can put into the system. So it really just means that our library is almost it can be made as big or as small as it needs to be, and we really have the flexibility of being able to take any 3D model and just put it in the system. And whereas with other systems, you're perhaps more difficult to draw or to find the products, what I think we do is we take the models, we put them in a sensible order, and all you have to do is find them and drop them in. You don't have to have your own extensive catalogs which you've created and saved in different places. So no, so we've got all those various bits and pieces. So whether it's the HVAC, whether it's windows, doors, etc. So we can just add those in.
Thank you.
You have a lot of features items that we can just drop in, which is wonderful. But if by chance we did have something specific that we needed to show in a plan that you didn't have, is there capacity to just draw a shape or a box to a certain size and to save that somewhere? So I don't know, just for example, let's say I had a particular size box that I needed to use over and over and over again in a plan. Could I save that in the products list?
Yeah, sure. Well, well, if there's something which you want to use again and again, then just let us know. Or for instance, if there's I don't know, some standard things which you would like to have included, then we can create those for you and put them in. So to have it saved in here, you have to we have to create and upload it for you. But we're more than happy to do that if there are particular things. But for instance, if you wanted just a box to represent something, then absolutely you can, we have sort of standard shapes, if you like, which you can manipulate yourselves to whatever size and shape that you need to represent that particular item. But what I would say is we're here for you. So if there's something which you're going to use a lot, then we may have a 3D model already we can put in for you. The alternative is that we can just literally get our designers to actually design that particular product and to create it for you so that you have it for future use. Something also to mention on the products and about sort of the ease of use is we also have this favorites function. So if there are products which you're using regularly and you use a lot, rather than having to go through all the various categories, these are actually bespoke to you. So you can choose which products you would like to make a favorite. And if you do make it a favorite, all you do is you click your heart here and that product will be saved into this left-hand list. So I know a lot of the time people tend to use the same 30 items in each drawing. So again, that makes it a lot quicker and a lot easier to find something. So yeah, you can do basic shapes to answer your question, and we're more than happy, obviously, to add in other products as and when you need them anyway.
Thank you.
Any further questions, or is everyone quite happy that they've seen what they need to see?
Is there some kind of a training video or something that you get once you sign on to the program?
Sure. So good question. So if I go to the Help Center, there are several things we've got available. We have a Help Center, which has a searchable database of different articles, which will take you through all the normal features of the program. So whether that's adding clients or how to draw the property, how to add decoration, etc. So if I just click on here, there's something about the build mode. As you can see, drawing walls. So you can click into an article and it takes you through how to draw the walls. So it gives you a step-by-step guide. Rather than having to try and find it, you can just type in here draw. It'll drop down and give you suggestions about what you might be looking for. So that's a sort of a written guide, a written help. We also on YouTube, we have our YouTube channel. I should have it saved. Here we are. Stop that from playing. But we also have a series of videos on our YouTube channel, and we're just uploading the last few of those. Actually, this is probably quite useful because it shows one of the higher resolution images we have. I can't. So not sure if you guys can see that. That's actually, that particular bathroom was actually created in Idapt Planner, but we did something extra with it to actually create it in a high resolution format, which gives it the more photorealistic look. So that's something which when I was talking about earlier, what we're moving towards. So that just gives you an example, and I'll send other examples shortly. But what this is here is a video, and what you'll see is as I scroll through this, if I can. Oh, sorry. This is actually a video showing you how to draw the room. So it goes very similar to what I showed you today, but it takes you a little bit more slowly, has a voiceover, tells you how to select plans, select drawings and things, and to create your environments. So there's I think 4 or 5 videos currently, and we're about to add on 2 or 3 others. So all the core concepts you can just follow an online video to teach yourselves as well. The other thing which we offer is the ability, a bit like we've done this afternoon, or sorry, this afternoon. I say this afternoon, but it's actually 1 o'clock in the morning here. This evening is a one-to-one tutorial. So you can book in to have a chat with one of our team. We'll help you with any problems you've got, and we'll get you up and running with the planner as well. Were there any other questions at this stage, or anything else I can sort of help with? I'm not sure, Karen, if did I touch on all the points I think we discussed in terms of the email? I'm not sure if I've missed anything out.
I believe you have. What would you say the learning curve is on this? I mean, how long do you think it takes? You made it look really easy, but how long do you think it really takes to be somewhat proficient with this?
I would really say it just depends on the starting point and just getting going. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So we have a slightly different system here in the UK in terms of the way in which we do adaptations or accessible design. So quite often we sell this to local government departments, and they will ask us to go in and to conduct some training with them as a group. So that training usually starts about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and will go on to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And all we do in that session is we have a big screen in front of us, and I or one of the other training team take the attendees through a typical bathroom to wet room adaptation or something similar. And what that's designed to do is to pick up all the various different tools that are available and to get people proficient. So most people find that really useful, and by the end of the day, they're quite happy to go away and have a good basic knowledge. We also have some universities who use this application, and I actually had one of the professors on the phone, and he's saying, "Oh, I want to use this part of my course, but I'm concerned that the students wouldn't know how to use it." And I said, "Well, I think you'd be surprised. Just let them have a go. If there's a problem, then we'll try and arrange something remotely." He had his first session. He came back. He said, "I think they know how to use it better than I do." So I think the key to it is, well, there's 2 things which I always say. The first is it is easy to use. Just you go on, try it. And obviously some people perhaps are less used to using IT than others, but hopefully we've tried to make it quite intuitive. And I think if you're used to using a computer, you'll probably find it quite easy to create. And obviously we can fill in any other gaps, which if there are problems. The second point, which I think is the most important point, which I always say in our training sessions, is look, you can't break it. Just try it out, test it, drag this, drag that, see what happens if you do this. Because to me, that's the best way of learning. So create yourself a test design, drag the products out, see what's available, try drawing a few walls. And okay, you might, your first few rooms might not go exactly as you expected because you perhaps pressed the wrong button or you lose something on there. But after 2 or 3 goes of it, I think you can get really up to speed and up to pace quite quickly. But again, with it, we're getting feedback all the time, and what we try and do is because like you said, I've been using it for quite a couple of years now as it was being developed. So I sort of know it quite well. But what we try and do is have focus groups so that if people come back to us and say, oh, we all find this difficult, then we just try and design that out and we'll do updates. And that's another key thing to mention. Because it's an online tool, all your designs are stored online. So you have access to them wherever you have access to the internet. So whether that be in the client's home, whether that be in your office. So it's not tied to a particular machine, it's just tied to your online account. The other thing to mention that, which is relevant to about learning and about obviously getting new updates and new features and things, is as we update the system, you will automatically get those updates in your profile. So you don't have to necessarily do anything. You might have to re-download the app or update the app, but as part of your subscription fee, you will get you'll get those products flowing through to you. So you'll get any new products, or you'll get new features that we add to the system as part of the subscription cost. So sorry, I sort of went off on a slight tangent there, but it suddenly occurred to me, obviously, I think it's quite important to mention about the cloud-based system, particularly for, say, the adding of features and trying to make it easier for people to use.
I'd like to ask one question.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, this is Louie. I'm in North Carolina. And when you are the Idapt files, are they compatible with other drawing programs such as SketchUp or Photoshop? Or what is the format that you can export the files?
So at the moment, so as I think I mentioned earlier on, it's created the actual application in something called Unity 3D. So those of you who perhaps are like playing iPad games or tablet games, a lot of the games on there have been created in Unity 3D. So Unity 3D is a gaming platform primarily, but we felt it was something which was actually really very good for using for architectural visualizations, and actually it's being used a lot by people like Revit and AutoCAD and sort of the real professional programs for creating their high-end walkthroughs, and that you probably see on some of these design shows. I know you've got the two brothers in the US who do a lot of the doer-uppers and things. They have sort of, you know, these visualizations to show the clients what it's going to look like. So the reason I gave that background is, at the moment, we don't essentially allow you to export out into different format, because it's not necessarily going to be compatible with, say, other drawing programs. But we do have the potential in Unity to export in quite a few formats. So it's not inconceivable that we can actually export in a format called FBX. So all the models that we have is in a format called FBX, and FBX can be transferred between quite a few different modeling programs and architectural programs. So you can bring in FBX into a lot of the architectural programs. So essentially, you can't share at the moment, but if it was something that was desperately needed, for instance, that you needed to get an FBX or something out into a system, we can do that. Looking at things like Photoshop, obviously you can bring the images into Photoshop. So if you're wanting to, you know, add annotations or add anything to the actual designs which you create, or if you wanted to crop the design, you can of course bring the images into Photoshop. But hopefully, to a certain degree, there's probably not much need for our plans to go elsewhere, if you like. And if you tell me differently, and obviously you say I'd really like if it did this, then absolutely, obviously we can look at that and see if that's that was possible.
Okay, thank you.
Were there any other questions I can help with? Obviously happy to answer anything which people have. I'm taking silence is a good thing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you can't, can you work offline if someone like a client does not have internet in their home?
So at the moment, that's something which we're looking at. At the moment, no, you can't work offline. So because the products are downloaded live off the internet, the reason why we can't work offline at the moment is because our library is such a big library of products. To actually install all those products and to keep them fresh on your computer will probably take up quite a lot of space. So that's why we are working on online mode. We are working on an offline mode that perhaps will allow you to create the design as you're with a client, perhaps who doesn't have internet access. But what we would say is, in the situation, perhaps you know you're going to visit a client who doesn't have Wi-Fi or similar, you can obviously create the images initially, download them as JPEGs or PNGs to your computer, or as your PDFs, and take those with you. So unfortunately, no, at the moment you do have to be online, but we are working on a version that might allow you to work offline if needs be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or? I was just trying to look back at the email exchange I had with Karen just to see if there was I think I've sort of touched on all the points which we Karen kindly provided me with her sort of wish list of features, and I was quite excited when I think I managed to accommodate all of them.
And we're able to go and do the 7-day trial, right?
So what I will do, if you want to do a 7-day trial, we're actually just about to update our website because we're actually removing that functionality, the 7-day trial from the website. But what I would say is, if I asked after the session, I'll ask Karen if she can just circulate around my details. The best thing to do, I'm more than happy to give you a trial, but just to email me in the first instance, and I'll get you set up separately.